1 month since activists in Washington, D.C. painted Black Lives Matter on a street not far from the White House with the blessing of the district government. Now the conservative nonprofit Judicial Watch is suing the city's mayor, Muriel Bowser, and others, citing a First Amendment violation after their request to paint a political message was denied. Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton joins me now. Tom, what did you want to paint on the street?
Well, it's our motto at Judicial Watch. It's our motivation because no one is above the law. It doesn't get any more apolitical than that. We wanted to paint it on a street near our offices here on Capitol Hill, just a few blocks away from the studio. And the mayor and her office gave us the runaround for 3 weeks. So we sued. Now, remember, the city painted Black Lives Matter. The city also allowed to be painted as well, defund the police. So, it's hard to argue that that can take place, yet a request like we're making can't. And so, when you start denying access to a public forum now, which the streets are, according to the mayor's own actions, you're running up against the First Amendment. That's why we're in federal court.
I want to read to you part of a response from a George Washington University professor, Paul Schiff Berman. He writes, if you create a true public forum and you let lots of people protest there, then of course the government can't favor some sorts of speech over other sorts of speech. But this is not a public park. This is the government itself choosing to speak. The government painted the Black Lives Matter painting on the street, and when the government is speaking, they're not required to allow space for alternative viewpoints. I find that point of view a little surprising, since when is the government always right?
Well, especially since they allowed that group to paint defund the police. Look, we asked to go through the rule. We promised to go through the rules. Said, if we need a permit, we'll get the permit. If we need paint, we'll buy the paint. We'll do everything necessary to comply with the law to get this message there. And the government obviously can have certain restrictions about how it's done. They initially said, well, I don't know if it will work because it might interfere with traffic. I said, well, we can close a street. Is there a way to get a street closed? There's a street that's closed now outside the White House, evidently, to protect this painting. Can we get an option there? And we're just getting the runaround. We were told to deal with their permitting office. They said, well, we don't know anything about a permit like that. And it's not just in D.C. We warned up in New York City. We warned Mayor de Blasio, who's also planning to paint similar messages across the city. We want access, too. We want to paint on Fifth Avenue.
What's to prevent, somebody from coming in and say, okay, now this week you need to paint Native American Lives Matter on the streets of Washington, D.C.?
Nothing. But this is the consequence when a government starts playing games. And, if they're going to start picking winners and losers on speech issues in forums they're now opening up to the American people, the result is they got to follow the law. And we're trying to hold the government accountable to the law. It looks to me like the D.C. mayor doesn't want our message to be out there because she disagrees with it. And that's not proper under the Constitution.
All right, Tom Fitton, you have hit a roadblock so far with the city, but let us know the outcome of your suit. Thanks for coming on.